Welcome, welcome. I'm, as always, Christopher Beck, and just remember, it looks like everybody's put your electronic hand down. Looks like everybody's done the audio and microphone setup wizard, and obviously remember to use the talk button if you need to talk. Everybody relax, enjoy, and hopefully this will be a fun one. We have a little activity today. Let's do a quick quality check. So if you can hear me, if you can see the words quality check, and you see the red record in the right part of the screen, please give me a check mark using the little check mark tool at the top there. Okay. Our learning objectives for today are to assess the strengths and weaknesses of different common e-learning styles and technologies, also to consider best practices for incorporating e-learning technologies into a core course using the community of inquiry model. So I'm going to give a very quick icebreaker. So for the icebreaker, if you could just put up your hand. So go ahead and click the little hand button, and the first people to put up would be able to, there we go, Caroline, David, and Maria. All right. Now, it's a quick one. Just name an e-learning technology that you remember as being, this is the next big thing. We're going to use this forever. It's going to revolutionize learning. That right now has been reassessed or is obsolete, or we no longer use, or we think it's maybe not as effective as we once believed. So Caroline, why don't you go ahead and name one of those, that if you can remember an e-learning technology that was once big but is now sort of passé.
Well, in the classroom it was the overhead projector. So e-learning, I would think it was just doing a conference where no one could respond, like a video or something.
Well, actually, I mean, e-learning, I guess a projector was a form of e-learning, right? But yeah, a video or a conference like that. Yeah, okay, conference call where you can't respond. All right, okay, that sounds good. So David, do you want to chime in?
Well, there used to be what was called the airplane educational system in the sky, and it would fly around cities and send down educational programming, and it was really never very effective simply because you had to have someone on the ground, so to speak, that also had to manage it.
All right, the airplane education system in the sky. I think that one might be a new one. I don't remember you ever mentioning that before. So, all right, that sounds very unwieldy. Maria, how about you?
I'm going to say playing DVDs.
Okay, when DVDs or laser discs, if you remember laser discs, whenever they came out, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to play them all the time in the classroom, this will be great. And then people realized, oh yeah, this is just playing a video, but that audio-visual component. Oh, very good. Those are all things that I hadn't really thought of, but we'll talk a little bit about more. So, all right, so for the exploration phase, we'll be very quick here. And as you were kind of gathering from my icebreaker, the idea of e-learning has evolved. If you remember way back, like in the early days of the PC when they became available, in the 70s, 80s, and of course more into the 90s, and here's a picture from the 90s, that idea of computer-aided learning, that we are actually just going to sit passively in front of a computer screen like these kids here, and it's going to help teach us. We'll have less teaching time, we'll have less student interaction, which at that time may have been good because the computer is going to allow them to interact better and they'll get more engaged in it. Of course, we've since come to find that that's not true. I like there's actually a little post-it note that says the computer's broken, which is always a problem back in those days. Then you can think of, yeah. Caroline, by the way, your mic's on, just in case you didn't know.
Sorry.
So the other thing they had was, no problem. They also had prepackaged classes, so that was something. And then as it transitioned to online communities, began to be people more and more on bulletin boards and things like this. So as we've moved away from this, and Garrison argues and many other thinkers are arguing that those old styles of computer-aided learning, pre-packaged classes, are not particularly effective, that just using technology doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have effective e-learning. There's a difference between e-learning and effectiveness. There's a difference between e-learning and distance learning, and that you can, in fact, use e-learning in a way that can supplement a face-to-face course, blending it together to have a more effective class. So we'll just jump right into the case study right now, and I've got a little case study I'll read to you, and then I want you all to move to your group room number 1, so case study number 1. And if you have trouble with that, you can click it so it says main room to right below your name, and you can click on that, and you can click case study number 1, or you can drag your name into the case study number 1 box. But don't do it quite yet. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I want you to think like an instructional designer. I want you to think about someone who is working with a faculty member, working with a subject matter expert, from a core curriculum class design mindset here. And I want you to think about this is going to be a large enrollment class, mostly lower level students. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. I'm going to give you a nice little empty whiteboard with just the question I'm asking, and so I want you to each talk about it and type up what you think using your text box tool. Type as much as you want, type as many things as you want in the 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back and do a debriefing. So this case study is the frustrated Professor X. So I had to get a Marvel X-Men reference here. There's Patrick Stewart as Professor X. He's transitioning his large core curriculum course into a blended or online course. He hasn't really decided. He's asking his instructional designer for help. He's requiring all his students to buy tablets. He wants his students to come to a few face-to-face meetings, but for the majority, he's going to have them do several things. One of the things he wants to do is have them watch pre-recorded MOOCs, because that way they can learn from a variety of scholars. He thinks, oh wow, this is great, I have all this technology. So for assessments, he wants the students to complete written assignments that are going to be submitted electronically to Dropbox. He wants them to watch recorded workshops like we're doing here and write little summaries for them. He wants them to participate in online discussions using a discussion board, to take online quizzes as well as part of an assessment for every week. And then in his face-to-face portions, which he's only going to have a few, he says, oh, I really want to use response clickers so I can poll. And then also maybe I want something like Top Hat or Forecast that I can use to track their performance as well. So he's got all of these great ideas. Now, your case study is he does this once, he pilots the class, and despite the fact that he's very engaging lecturer, he's very effective subject matter expert, his students did really poorly. And they all gave him negative course evaluations. And he says, what did I do wrong? So he's coming to you as a teaching learning technology expert, and he wants to say, hey, what can I do differently that will make this be better? So if you want to go to your case study room number 1, please, go ahead and head there. I'll join you in just a second. And I'll set up the 5-minute timer, and I want you to talk about it as much as you can in those 5 minutes. All right, looks like everybody's back. I heard some really great answers. So we're going to do a little bit of a debriefing here. But in order to do that, I'd like for you to see we'll be using a Google Doc form. So what I'm going to be doing here is first thing I'm going to do is some application sharing. So bear with me here to show you what a Google Doc form looks like. So here we have our Google Docs. You would get to that by clicking on to your sort of Google Drive. This is the Google Drive homepage. In order to, you can create a lot of different things. One thing you can create new folders. We're going to be using Google Docs. Google Sheets would be like an Excel spreadsheet. You can also do slides like PowerPoint. But here we have Google Docs. I've already created one for you. So let me quickly go back and share with you this URL in our web tour.
Yeah.
I've got you guys joining me here. Everybody hear me? Okay, good. Now, if you would just use the edit function. I've got the question still there. If you could use the edit function, just put your name here, and then just give me one of your suggestions. And while you do that, I'm going to kind of debrief. And I heard a lot of great things. I heard no social presence. He was just basically allowing them to have all this technology, but didn't actually connect them to it. I heard that he wasn't really even building a cognitive presence, that he was really not using it to test them or anything. Can you guys click down there in the name fields? Looks like Caroline got it. Oh, there's Maria. All right. Should be able to just click directly on there, David, and it should be able to, there we go. It didn't provide a triggering moment. Didn't guide students through the practical inquiry. Yeah, there we go. Asking the right questions. Didn't really ask the right questions. These are all great things. Wonderful. And you would be able to come back and edit this since it is shared. So you have the link. You could follow that link. Go ahead and put the link in the chat room down here. If you want to come back to it, you could always click on that link or copy that link, and you could come back and add more for the debrief later. So yeah, just one is fine, guys. Wow, that's a lot of editing. Very good. So now that we're through with the debriefing, I'll let you guys finish typing your ideas. Yeah, come back and look at these ideas. That's great. I'm going to go ahead, though, and return. We're running a little low on time, so I'm going to return back to our whiteboard here. You can always come back and look at our debriefing later. You had some really great ideas. Basically, what I was thinking of is all the things that you said were very, very good, and it boils down to this idea that he didn't have a framework. He didn't have a principle. Instead, he did the let's throw everything and the kitchen sink at the students mentality. A lot of faculty, when they approach blended learning particularly, oh, I've got Top Hat. Oh, I've got polling. Oh, I've got workshops. I've got online discussions. I'm going to have them do everything. Let's have them buy tablets. It sometimes becomes cost prohibitive because tablets are expensive. Proctoring software is expensive. All this stuff adds up. So I'm interested that none of you guys actually thought, whoa, this course is going to cost a lot of money for these students. But he didn't have a framework. He just saw a lot of technology. And he was using some like MOOCs that are proven to not really be very engaging as well. He didn't build that social presence. He, in fact, alienated and isolated the students, just as you guys said in the discussion, that he didn't offer any sort of way for them to connect using the technology other than the discussion board. And even then, there was no guidance to it. It was just, hey, let's discuss things. So really, we need to think about how can we guide students. And one of the things, particularly with core curriculum courses, is having some form of an orientation. One of the things I didn't mention is he didn't actually bring them in and say, here's how we're going to use this stuff. Here's how we're going to interact with this particular tool. Now at Purdue, where I've just had my first week there, one of the things that the teaching and learning technologies people want people to do is have the faculty, have them come in and say, here's how you use the tool. So a form of an orientation. Also, he didn't align any of that stuff together, not the assessments, the technology, or anything with the goals of the course. So there was no alignment and there was no orientation to the tools. He just let them go on that. Well, we're going to wrap up today. Really thanks for your participation. I do have a quick exit ticket activity that you could, of course, send to me via email, and that is a big question. How could you simulate an orientation with an online-only or asynchronous online course? So it's easy if we're doing a blended class to have an orientation to the technology use, the professor, and the way this is all going to work. But if you're teaching an online-only course, how could you do an orientation? So that would be your exit ticket activity via an email. Thanks. Any questions? Anything you guys want to know? Or